Okay, let's continue on with Shiur of Masechet Berakhot. Let's go back a little bit. First, let's, for the benefit of our new attendee, beginning with the Gemara Masechet Berakhot, and we're basically talking about the Zman of Kriyat Shema. And the way the Mishnah asks the question is, from when do we start reading Kriyat Shema? What is the earliest time you could read Kriyat Shema? And the Mishnah gives an answer, from the time that the Kohanim go in to eat their terumah. And then the Mishnah then talks about what is the end time of Kriyat Shema, and that in the Mishnah is machloket. It's a discussion amongst there. We have Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. Ad sof Ashmura Rishona, the night is divided into three parts, and at the end of the first third of the night, there is what's called the Sof Ashmura. That's the end of the Zman of Kriyat Shema. So presumably all the Chachamim in the Mishnah agree that are here with the premise that Zman Kriyat Shema starts from when the Kohanim go in to eat their terumah, and we're going to see what time that is. But there's a machloket with regarding when the end of Kriyat Shema is. So Rabbi Eliezer says until the end of the first watch, which is the end of the first third of the night, dividing a night into 12 equal portions, from the beginning of the night, which is Set HaKochavim, until dawn, dividing that into 12 equal portions, that is, and then you divide that up. So the first third, that's when the end of Zman Kriyat Shema, according to Rabbi Eliezer. The Chachamim say ad Chatzot. The Chachamim say that one is permitted to say Kriyat Shema until Chatzot, until midnight. And then Rabban Gamliel says a person can say Kriyat Shema ad Sheyaled Amud HaShachar, that you can say Kriyat Shema up until dawn. And then the Mishnah brings a maaseh, brings a story of the children of Rabban Gamliel who came back from a wedding, and they hadn't yet said Kriyat Shema, and it was after Chatzot, and Rabban Gamliel told them to say Kriyat Shema. And then the Mishnah basically comes to the conclusion, which the Gemara is going to discuss in more detail a couple of pages from now, that any time the Chachamim said ad Chatzot, it's not. Their opinion was ad Alud HaShachar, which means any mitzvah that is over the night, you can say until dawn. So why did they say until midnight? Leharchik ha'adam min ha'avera, to distance a person from a sin. Because lechatchila, a person should say a mitzvah that you have all night to say. Lechatchila, you should say it before Chatzot. B'di'avad, yotzeh, if a person says it after Chatzot until Alot HaShachar. That's the Mishnah. So the Gemara is going to discuss really the first part of the Mishnah.
That's already the halacha, or that's just...
Okay, so right now we're learning Gemara. It's going to take us, I'm not even sure we're going to get to halacha today. Given the fact we have to clarify a little bit of what we talked about last week, we have to hopefully finish the sugya on the first part. And then once we do that, then we can clarify what the halacha is for the first part of the Mishnah. Then we have to continue on in the Gemara, and then we can clarify the second part. So getting to the halakha from the Gemara, it's one thing if we're learning every single day, we would have been there 2.5 weeks ago. But when we're learning once a week, it's going to take time, because first you have to get through the sugya, you have to understand the shitot in the Gemara, then you have to understand how the Rishonim learn the Gemara. What we're going to learn from today is how different Rishonim learn the Gemara in a different way. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. Of course, we did the Rashi, we did the Tosafot as well. The Tosafot brings multiple questions on the Rashi. I can't review that all today. I have one of them up on the whatever else. You should have received it already. The next one's going to go up hopefully within the next couple of days. So listen to them, and you'll be up to snuff. Okay, so let's go to where it says Amar Mar, because we have to go back in order to get to where we were last week when we stopped. We have to go back a little bit. Okay, so it says over here Amar Mar. Misha she'akonim nichnasim le'echol b'trumatan, which the Mishnah was. Remember, the first part of the Gemara was really discussing why does it bring night before day? Why does it talk about that? Okay, that's not germane to the halakha at all. That's just asking why the style of the Mishnah was that way, and it also asks why does the Mishnah begin with a question? From when do we read Kriyat Shema? Why doesn't the Mishnah begin by saying what is the mitzvah Kriyat Shema? It doesn't do that. So that's the first little segment of the Gemara that is not Nogea lahalacha. What we're going to do now from Amar more until the end of the sugya here is Nogea to halacha of from what point does Zman Kriyat Shema begin. Okay, so it says Amar more. The master said in the Mishnah, Misha she'akonim nichnasim le'echol b'trumatan. The Mishnah defined the time, the beginning of Kriyat Shema is when the Kohanim go into eat their terumah. So the Kohen, there are multiple reasons why a Kohen would be tameh. In order for the Kohen to eat terumah, he has to go to mikveh before sunset. And then once Tzet HaKochavim comes out, or at least that's the premise, we'll see. The premise is once Tzet HaKochavim comes out, he's allowed to eat from the terumah. But he's not allowed to participate in any of the korbanot or eat the meat of the korbanot until the next day he brings a korban. Once he brings the korban on the following day, then he is what we call completely tahor, allowing him to eat from the meat of the korbanot and participating in the sacrifices in the temple.
Which you can do at night, after Tzedakah Chavim.
No.
No,
let's clarify that.
In the morning.
Okay, the Kohen is not allowed, when he's tameh, not allowed to have terumah, not allowed to participate in korbanot, not allowed to eat the meat of the korban.
Right, if
okay?
he's tameh.
If he's tameh. In order for him to become tahor, what does he have to do? He goes to mikveh.
Right, during the day.
Okay, goes to mikveh during the day. And then what happens is, when the Tzet HaKochavim comes,
Right.
he's tahor enough to eat terumah. Which means to eat terumah requires a lower level, shall we say. It's not a complete purification, or kapara is the language of the Gemara. So what happens is, by going to mikveh, once we see the sunset, or Tzet HaKochavim, we'll see what we're going to talk about that. Then what happens? He goes in to eat the terumah. He's allowed to eat the terumah. He cannot eat from the korban. First of all, there's no korbanot at night, so there's nothing really to do that night. But the next morning when he wakes up, if he wants to participate in korbanot, or if he wants to eat the meat, he must bring a korban for his tum'ah. And once he brings that korban, now he is permitted to eat from the meat of the sacrifices and participate as a full kohen in the avodah in the temple. The Mishnah is basically saying, at what point is the time when Kriyat Shema starts? When the kohanim go in to eat their terumah. We good? Okay, now to continue on the Gemara. Mikadi, let's consider. Kohanim emad ka'achle terumah. When do the Kohanim who were tameh previously become permitted to eat the terumah? By, of course, going to mikveh. Mishat Tzet HaKochavim. So the Gemara is going to define right now, at least at the outset, what is this time? The next first question is going to be, since clearly, according to the premise of the Gemara, the time that the Kohanim are allowed to go and eat the terumah is Tzet HaKochavim, why didn't the Mishnah just say that? Why did it make things more complicated by not giving the specific time? Instead, it gave another halacha without defining that time, assuming that you know the halacha from when Kohanim go to eat the terumah, then you would know when the beginning part of Kiryat Shema is. That's the question. So what's the answer? Milta agav urhe kamashmalan. Basically, when the Tana was writing the Mishnah, this Mishnah, which is, he wanted, Rabbi Eliezer in the beginning, what does he want to do? He wants to basically teach another halacha. So since he wants to teach another halacha, he brings the other halacha, which is the zman the Kohanim go in to eat the terumah. Kohanim emat ka'achle b'terumah. When are Kohanim permitted to eat the terumah? Mishat Tzet HaKochavim. So now the Mishnah has basically killed two birds with one stone, or at least Rabbi Yudanas, he may have thought so. Killed two birds with one stone. How? Since we know the Zman of Kriyat Shema is Tzet HaKochavim, and now we know the Zman of, and now we also know at the same time that the Zman of Achilat the Terumah is Tzet HaKochavim. Why would the Mishnah want to teach it in that way? Why would it make it complicated like this? Because we said before, the Mishnah was designed for memorization. So once a person studies this Mishnah Masechet Berakhot, he knows two things. He knows the beginning of Tzet HaKochavim is the Zman of Kriyat Shema, and he also knows what? He also knows. So this way, you're with less words, you are basically including more halachic material. And the brain is best when you put things together, it's easier to remember them. And of course, the problem is that the Gemara, 100 or 200 years later, is now trying to understand why Rabbi Yudanasi did it this way, to show you the Yerida in the Dorot. That everybody in the Mishnah would have clearly understood this and gone weiter. This is the first Mishnah in Masechet Zraim. It's like but everybody else, but the Gemara now, wait a minute, we need to understand this. Why did he do it like this? Why did he do it like this? So we see why Amoraim versus Tanaim is a Yerida. And with each successive generation after, from Har Sinai, unlike what we think nowadays, our scientists will say they're so much smarter than everybody else because they know so much. It's really not true. There's a Yeridah in every single generation. So you have Tanaim, then you have Amoraim. And then from the Amoraim, the Saboraim, there was a Yeridah. From the Saboraim to the Geonim is a Yeridah. And from the Geonim to the Rishonim is a Yeridah. And from the Rishonim to Achronim is a Yeridah, is going down. Each one is going down. So my rabbi once explained to me, this Rabbi Levi, so where do we fit in? So in some ways, we see better than they do. Why? Because we're standing on their shoulders. Even though we're much shorter. They were very, very tall. But what do? We climb up on their shoulders and stand up. So we can see further, not because we're smarter. We're not. We're actually much smaller. But because we're higher, not higher, but because we stand on their shoulders, see what they wrote, what they said, and look forward. This is what gives us a certain ma'alah. But it's not a ma'alah in stature. Our stature is much, much smaller. And we see clearly from the Gemara like this. And this is what the Tana means to teach us. The kapara lo me'akeva. Which means that the Mishnah is coming to teach you what? That the kapara, how is the kapara achieved? The kapara is not achieved by going to the mikveh. The kapara is achieved by the kohen bringing the next day the korban in order to receive the kapara for the tum'ah. And when he gets the kapara, then he can participate in the korbanot. But the kapara, which means the complete kapara of the kohen, is not necessary for him to eat terumah.
That's the third thing.
Okay. So now, Kiditanya, it's taught in the Baraita, who is looking for a source in the Torah. The Gemara is looking for a source in the Torah for where we learn when Kohanim can go and eat the Tirumah, because we just learned that it doesn't have to wait for the Kapara in the morning. Well, where do we learn that from? So the Gemara brings a Baraita. A Baraita is a piece of Tanaic learning that is not included in the Mishnah. Uba Shemesh v'taher, brings a pasuk. And the sun comes and there is purification. I don't want to define that because we'll see Rashi and people are going to understand this very differently. Bi'at shimsho me'akvato milechol teruma, which means the setting of the sun. Bo hashemesh is sunset. The setting of the sun prevents him from eating the tirumah, which means until the sun sets, even though he might have gone to the mikveh an hour or two before sunset, the setting of the sun, until the sun sets, he's not allowed to eat from tirumah. Once the sun sets, then maybe he's allowed to eat the tirumah, but now we have an extra word. Then kaparato me'akvoto melechol tirumah. But his kapara, it's not waiting for the next day. Bahashemesh is sunset v'taher. Now we have to understand the word v'taher is applying to who? Or what is the noun? Is it the person? The kohen is taher?
Or the day.
Or the day? That's going to be the question. Okay? So the Gemara is going to ask a question over here. Umimai dehayu v'hashemesh biyat hashemesh. How are you basing what you're saying? Uba hashemesh means setting of the sun, right? And then you're saying v'hai v'taher taher yoma, which means what is the word taher? The initial premise of the Gemara is what? The word taher means what? That the day passed. Ba hashemesh is sunset. What time do we say we go into Kohanim going to Terumah? Tzet Kochavim. Ba hashemesh means sunset, but that's not the time the Kohanim going to eat the Terumah. What is v'taher? And the day passed, meaning what? Tzet Kochavim.
But taher over here does not mean clean.
No, over here the day means the day passed, which means it's the noun that is being referred to by the word taher is the day. Which means uba hashemesh. If the Torah would have just said uba hashemesh, then as soon as the sun set, the Kohen would be able to eat terumah. That's not the halakha. He has to wait till tzet kochavim. Why? Because he has to wait till the day completely passes. And when does the day completely pass? Tzet kochavim. So let's continue on. Do the Rashi, Tosafot, and the Rashba. I wish I could have brought the Pnei Yehoshua, but I didn't have time. Because the Pnei Yehoshua defends Rashi, because the Tosafot and the Rashba are going to rain on Rashi, because they're very unhappy with how Rashi is going to learn the next part of the Gemara. And the Pnei Hoshua rescues him, so maybe I'll bring that next week. But again, it's unfortunately this is beautiful stuff, but it's not needed to understand the halakha. So, but we'll, for the purposes of,
It's more about Kohen, who is not really relevant in our days, but nonetheless.
it's not, but it's important to see
How they learn,
see how they learn. Okay, because when we're going to get to the Rishonim, how they learn the halakha, we're going to see the same learning type styles applied. V'hai taher, what is v'taher? V'taher, taher yoma, which means the day passed. Dilma, this is what we had the issue with last week. Dilma bi'at orohu. What is bi'at oro? The coming of the light. Well, that's very strange. When the sun sets, it's
light
not
goes
the
away.
coming of the light, it's the leaving of the light. So, uba hashemesh v'taher, one might think to yourself, what? Umay taher, so what does it mean v'taher? Tahar gavra, that the person becomes tahor. When? Only when he eats, when he does the sacrifice the next day. So from the simple meaning of the Braita that's brought here, how do we know that a Kohen is allowed to eat terumah at night? Maybe he has to wait until the next day when he brings his korban, and then he can eat terumah, then he can make sacrifices, then he can eat the meat. How are you learning Uba Hashemesh v'taher is referring to sunset? Because what does it say? Dilma biat orohu. What is biat oro? Maybe you want to say it's the coming of the light, because the shemesh is what provides light.
Then we're talking about moonlight.
No,
No, cannot be.
no, because the pasuk says
After
the
the moon is there.
But here's the problem: the pasuk says shemesh.
Shemesh, sun.
The pasuk says shemesh.
I thought we were saying biat, right? Biat means set.
Don't get to that yet. Well, hold on a second. Yes, but we're going to see where they get that from. Now let's look at Rashi. What he says here. Dilma biat oro. See Rashi on top, on the left-hand side. She'or hashemesh bayom. That when does the light of the sun comes out in the day? Hashemini, on the 8th day. Ve'yitaher. So Rashi is learning that here
Will be cleaned.
will be clean. Who will be cleaned? The person. That's the dilma. Ha'ish atzmo behavaat korbenotav ve'achar yochal. Which means he's only, the Gemara is saying, how do you learn from this pasuk? Uba Hashemesh v'taher is referring to Tzeta Kochavim. He's saying, can we learning it, that it's referring to sunrise. When the sun comes, when the light comes. And then we would understand what? It's not Tzeta. Then this Braita would disagree with the Tanakama. Because the Tanakama said that when can you eat the terumah, tzeta kochavim? Then the Gemara initially brought a Braita to try to prove it from a pasuk. But that pasuk, according to the Dilma, is not helping to prove it, because I can learn this pasuk in a different way. This is how Rashi learns this.
So Rashi basically says, no, he's not allowed to eat terumah.
No. This is how Rashi is learning this segment here. Rashi is not going to disagree that Tzeta Kochavim and the Zman. Remember the first Rashi we did over here? It was trying to figure out how you yotze and the mitzvah of arbit when you read Kriyat Shema Mi'od Yom. So Rashi is not holding like this, but this is how he's understanding the Gemara here.
The Gemara doesn't hold like this also.
No. But we need to understand what this Dilma, and this is what the discussion you and I had last week, so let's clarify this. Now let's look at the Tosafot. See if we can get through this. Dilma biat orohu. Perish Rashi ad sheizrach oro shel yom hashemini. That the Gemara's question over here is saying maybe the pasuk is talking about the fact that when does the light come? The light comes on the 8th day, not at sunset on the 7th day, on the 8th day. Umay v'taher. So what does it mean v'taher? What does it mean that he was purified? That it's purified? Taher gavra. That the person is purified. When does the person get complete purification? Only in the day when he brings the korban. Shi tahera ish behava'at korbenotav. That he gets the complete tahara kapara, same, even though the Gemara talks kapara, it gets the complete tara when he brings the korban. V'tema leperusho. We have a problem with the explanation of Rashi. Lifroch ahahi deha'arel. We're going to bring another place, which is in Masechet Negaim. Because there's a Mishnah in Masechet Negaim that says what? Dehe'eriv shimsho ochel bateruma. What is he'eriv shimsho? What word is in ve'eriv? Erev. So we have, how can Rashi be saying over here that the Dilma is talking, this pasuk is referring to, no one holds like that. Because we have a mefurish Mishnah, because if the Gemara wants to and of course the question, why did the Gemara bring their Mishnah, which some of the Rishonim asked, why didn't the Gemara bring this Mishnah? Why did it bring this Braita? Should have brought the Mishnah. We'll see there's a reason why I didn't bring this Mishnah. Okay? From where do we learn that biat shemesh is what it is? The od, which means from the, how do we, so clearly, where are you, this Mishnah says that the Kohanim go in to eat the teruma, he'eriv shimsho, when the night comes, not the day. Ubaha shemesh clearly is referring to the night, not the day. How is Rashi understanding this as the day? The od hechi matzilememar. How can we find to say the miri bezricha, that it's talking about zrichat hashemesh, which is the sunrise? The ibizricha, if the Torah is going to mention, really wanted to teach us that the Kohanim have to wait until sunrise to eat from the teruma. Hava matzel michtav bikra bezarach hashemesh. The pasuk should have written not Uba hashemesh v'taher. It should have written Vezarach hashemesh v'taher. What is Vezarach? There's no doubt about that. Zarach is rising up or shine. K'mo mimizrach hashemesh, mimizrach hashemesh. Why is Mizrach called Mizrach? Because the shemesh is zorachat from the Mizrach. Why is Ma'arav called Ma'arav? Because the shemesh is he'eriv shimsho. That's why it's called west, because the sun sets in the west.
I don't understand the question on Rashi over here. It seems like it's a question on Gemara. Because the Gemara is having this machloket between itself, and Rashi's just explaining the machloket, no?
Okay, but Rashi's explanation of the Gemara is the problem, because you're going to see Tosafot have a different explanation of the Dilma.
You're saying, how could the Gemara be thinking it's...
No, Tosafot's question is not on the Gemara.
I know, I think it's like, how could Rashi be interpreting the Gemara to be thinking that it's the sun...
How could Rashi be thinking that Dilma is referring to sunrise, that this Dilma is sunrise? How can he be thinking that that's what the Gemara is bringing? That's not what the Gemara is bringing, as we're going to see. Or Lashon Yetziah, or the Torah could have used a Lashon of Yetziah. We have Bi'at Shemesh, we have Yetziat HaShemesh. Yetziah, when the sun comes out, there's no machloket about what that means. K'mo HaShemesh Yatza La'aretz. We have another pasuk in the Torah on Breshit. The HaShemesh Yatza La'aretz. The sun came out on the land, meaning what? Sunrise. So we have clear terms the Torah can use to denote sunrise. If the Torah really wanted to teach us that the time the Kohanim eat from the terumah is the next day after sunrise, it would have used clearer terms, not Uba HaShemesh. It would have used the term Yetziat HaShemesh, or would have used the term Zirichat HaShemesh, Vezarach HaShemesh V'tayer, and then we wouldn't be having this discussion. V'nakat bikra Uba HaShemesh, but the Torah brings the word Uba HaShemesh. Alma dahayu shikiat hama. That Uba HaShemesh is sunset. The Od, and also, the Besamuch Kami Baile Hai Uba HaShemesh. What does it mean, Uba HaShemesh? Ibiat Oro, if you want to say it's when the light is coming. Upashit mi Braita Zecher Ledavar V'chulei. Which means the Braita is hinting, what is Biat Oro? That when the sun is setting, using the term bi'ah, the or is switching for the shemesh, but when this or is coming, which means when it's setting, not when it is rising, when it's coming out. Tifshot mimatnitin. You can learn from the Mishnah in Negaim. He'eriv shimsho chebet truma. Alma dahainu biat shemesh. So from this Mishnah in Negaim, you can clearly learn that what does it mean, biat oro? Clearly it's talking about sunset. V'yesh lomar dehachi parchinan mimai dehayu ba shemesh v'taher biat shemeshu. Maybe we want to say, maybe we can say that the disagreement here is what does it mean uba shemesh v'taher biat shemeshu mamash, which means bo hashemesh is sunset. Umay v'taher taher yoma dahainu. So why is the word v'taher added? To tell you that sunset alone is not sufficient. Something else has to happen in order for the Kohen to eat the terumah. And what is it? Tzet kochavim. Dilma biat orohu dahainu techilata shel shkiyat hachama. What does it mean the coming of the light? The beginning of shkiyat hachama, which is the beginning of sunset. V'hu techilat hachnasata birkia is the beginning when the shemesh is going underneath the horizon. V'adayin yesh shahut bayom. But this is Rabbeinu Tam's opinion, according to Rabbeinu Tam, when the sun sets below the horizon, it's still yom, still day. Night is only when there is an absence of any light from the sun. That doesn't happen sometimes, at least depending on the time of the year where you are in the latitude. It can be, well, that depends on what you consider no light. What does it mean? Rabbeinu Tam is basically saying 72 minutes, which is 5 meal, which is going to bring up over here, which is the longest time, which means, and then what is Ben Hashmashot? So this is also machloket, how long Ben Hashmashot is. There's one place that teaches Ben Hashmashot is Heref Ayin, which means it's an instant. According to Rabbeinu Tam, it's still Vadai day, and just before the 5 milim, before the 72 minutes, there's Ben Hashmashot, which is Heref Ayin, which is instantaneous, and then it's Tzet HaKochavim. That's Rabbeinu Tam's opinion. V'adayin yesh shahut bayom. It's still day. So therefore, since it's still day and it says v'taher, what does that mean? He can't eat from the tirumah because it's still day. Even though the sun came, which means the sun is coming to the horizon, or is going below the horizon, it's still vadai day, and therefore he cannot eat from the tirumah until it is nighttime. That's coming to teach the word v'taher. Chamesh milin ad tzet hakochavim. In 72 minutes. It's usually people work between 3 and 4 miles an hour. So there you go. 72 minutes would be basically 5 milim. Okay? Umay v'taher. What does it mean v'taher? Taher gavra. V'hashda lematnitin. The Mishnah over there, the Mishnah in Negaim. Lo kashemidi demaseh lemad. Why? Why did the Gemara bring that Mishnah? Because that Mishnah says he'eriv shimsho, but it's not so clear. Because he'eriv shimsho is not enough. What is he'eriv shimsho? That's not sunset. Is that tzet hakochavim? So it didn't bring that Mishnah because it's not clear that is referring to tzet hakochavim. You're asking a question, why is it machloket and rishonim? That's making a premise that there's no machloket in the Mishnah, but there's machloket in the Mishnah. We just learned the Mishnah with machloket. Yeah. So why is there machloket at all? So why is there machloket? Because the students didn't learn well. We talked about the Yeridat HaDorot.
Oh, really?
That's why there's machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. Hillel and Shammai only disagreed on 3 things. Hillel and Shammai, the masters, 3 things. Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai, lots of things. Why? Because the students didn't learn well. So when the Rebbes died, the students had different understandings of what the Rebbe said. And what is the Torah's prescription for avoiding machloket? For heaven's sakes, the Torah was given to the Jewish people, right? We have a whole parasha in the Torah that talks about machloket, and that's not l'shem shamayim. But we have machloket l'shem shamayim. There's a concept of machloket l'shem shamayim. How would these things be, as far as the Torah is concerned, there should be no machloket.
Majority.
No, not enough. It's called Sanhedrin. If there's a machloket between two zikenim, they bring their case to the Sanhedrin in Yerushalayim, 70, right? And what happens? Those rabbis explain their opinion. The Sanhedrin makes a ruling, and now the entire Jewish nation has to follow that reasoning. If this zaken, who was not agreed upon by the Sanhedrin, continues to teach and follow his opinion, he gets the death penalty.
Really?
Yes, that's called the zaken mamre.
How come Tanaim didn't bring it and resolve it?
Because by the
Sanhedrin
time
was
of
done
the Sanhedrin was already not, the Sanhedrin was the Bet HaMikdash. They weren't sitting, since the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, they're not sitting in Lishkat HaGazit. 40 years before the destruction of the temple, the Shekhinah had already left. The Gemara, about the 10 different galuyot of the Shekhinah from Yerushalayim during the time of the Second Temple. That there were 10 different times the Shekhinah went further and further and further away. And where did it end up? If I'm not mistaken, if I remember the Gemara correctly, it ended up in Yavne. And now we understand why Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, when he went out to see to Vespasian, Aspasianos Caesar, Yavne v'chachameh, because he knew that's where the Shekhinah was. So the big chachamim on top were able to see this, but the people weren't listening. No difference. So, but when again, why is there machloket? Because the students didn't learn. Yehoshua, it says, after Moshe Rabbeinu died, Yehoshua forgot 3,000 halachot.
Wow.
And what's the problem with forgetting halacha?
Can't transmit it down.
Can't get it back when he died.
How do you get it back?
You didn't
That's
do it
it.
wrong.
What would you think you can get? How could you think? Yehoshua, he forgot what Moshe said. What can he do? Ask God, right? No. Why not? Because halacha cannot be adjudicated based on prophecy. Halacha has to be adjudicated based on logic, chachamim, or the 13 ways the Torah is nidreshet bahen. Out of those 13, only one of them is arrived at through svara, that is, kal vachomer. All of the other ones are arrived at through teaching. And what's more powerful, the 12 that are derived through teaching, or the one that's derived through svara, through logic? Kal vachomer is the weakest.
This is the easiest.
No, it's not because it's the easiest. It's because it's based on logic. And the Torah doesn't necessarily have to be logical. So that's why when a person has a limud from his teacher, that takes precedence over logic. So now you have one Rav that says, but my teacher said this. Then you have another Rav that says, well, my teacher said this. Now you have a problem. Both those teachers are dead. If they were alive, you can go ask them, and then they would prove that, you know something, they were having a machloket themselves. This is how the Gemara works. You'll have a machloket between two Amoraim. This Amora will say, my teacher told me this. This Amora will say, my teacher told me that. Sometimes they'll even say, my teacher told me this, and his teacher was the same teacher, told him something else. So how is that possible? So they have to show there's two different cases.
Misunderstanding.
Or there's two different cases. That they didn't get that they were not yored the soft da'at of the teacher, which means they didn't understand that when the teacher said this, he was referring to this case, and when the teacher said this, he was referring to a different case. The students learned that there's the difference of opinion. No, the teacher didn't have a difference of opinion. He understood that there were two different cases he was talking about, but the students didn't catch it.
Also, could be machloket tanim on what they
So
said.
now the other opinion is the other possibility, correct, that what? Really, the students were correct. The teachers themselves had a machloket.
If it's the same teacher, then it could be there's two Tanaim that argue on what that teacher said.
Exactly. Okay, meaning same idea, which means what did he really mean? Because one person, of course, there's another possibility also.
You know what I'm saying?
A person can have one opinion, and then over the course of his life, he can change his opinion.
Which happens a lot.
Okay, Chacham Avadia talks about this in his
Yeah,
Teshuvot,
sure, yeah.
that he had opinions when he was
Younger.
and then when he got older, Hadar hu, he turned back. And it's a good thing. Hadar is good. Exactly. They'll write in the Perosh HaMishnayot that he wrote X, and then in the Yad he wrote something else. Now, they try to explain that, no, the best thing to do is to say, no. They're talking about, once again, talking about two different cases. The best thing you want to do is show, no, it's not hadar. He didn't return on what he said before, that this is one case and this is another case, but sometimes it's not the case. So because the students didn't learn well, and this was transmitted orally, there was machloket. The Torah gives us a way to resolve the machloket. That's with the Sanhedrin. But the problem is what? We don't have Bet HaMikdash.
Yeshua didn't teach anyone? Wasn't it?
Of course he taught, but there were 3,000 halachot he forgot. So he had to go through the 13 midot HaTorah nidreshet by him to
Who came up with this
rekindle
middle?
those.
Who came up with this
Halachah Moshe Sinai.
And then how did he forget? Was it like a din? Like, what was it?
Moshe was the Shemesh. Yoshua was the Yareach. The Shemesh shines a lot more than Yareach does. Think about when you teach your son. When you teach your son things that you know very well and he's learning for the first time, you're not telling him everything you know about that topic. You're giving him what you think he can absorb at that time. And then you might come back a week later and add more, which means that students can never really get to the end of the Rebbe's understanding, which by necessity means over the course of, why does the Torah have a built-in way of dealing with machloket? Because it's clear that over the, Chas v'shalom, I'm not saying the transmission is 100%, the transmission is, but what happens is there's certain small details that was machloket. And that's the whole purpose when you learn halacha. You have to learn, you want to negotiate through all the opinions. What does halacha mean? The way to go. So you want to go in the way that you're including most of the opinions of the Rishonim together. And this way a person knows that he's yotzeh according to, ideally, all the opinions if one can be. If you can't be yotzeh to all the opinions, you want to be yotzeh in most of the opinions. And that's why when we learn the different shitot, now it becomes what is the halacha? How do you behave? How do you act? If we had Sanhedrin, what would happen? The Sanhedrin would rule on this issue. They would say, Tzete Kochavim is according to Rabbeinu Tam. Done. No safek. But because we don't have Sanhedrin, we have no way to sometimes, and then as in the Gemara, where it leaves it as a teku. It leaves it as an area where they couldn't come to a conclusion. Let's just finish the Tosafot. I'm sorry. We're going to have to stop soon, so we're not going to get to the Rashba today. It's not a problem that it didn't bring it. There it's talking about sunset. From there, it's not clear from the Mishnah in Negaim that the Zman of the Terumah, eating of the Terumah, set Kochavim. That's why the Gemara didn't bring the Mishnah from Negaim. That's why the Gemara had to bring this Braita, which talks about Shemesh v'Taher, because that Braita clearly said the sunset is not sufficient for the Kohen to eat his terumah. The Mishnah in Negaim is not clear about that. First of all, Negaim is not dealing with that directly; it's dealing with it parenthetically. So therefore, it's assuming you already know that from before. Here, where they're dealing with this issue directly, they have to be clear. So that's why it brings the Braita. Just to summarize quickly what the Rashba says, maybe we won't do it on the inside, maybe we'll just do it on the outside. Rashba brings the Geonim, and the Geonim had a different girsa in the Gemara. The Gemara and the Geonim didn't say Dilma biat orohu. The girsa of the Geonim was Dilma biat shimshohu. Right. And then the Rashba asks the question on Rashi that I asked last week about, nowhere do we see anywhere in the Torah that Biat Shemesh is sunrise. It's always sunset. So because why? So Rashi's
Biat Shemesh and Biat Shimsho.
Okay. The first problem is Biat Oro. That's the girsa that we have.
The first opinion was Biat Shemesh.
No. Okay. The Dilma. Look at the Dilma.
Yeah, the Dilma.
The text of Rashi was like we have here, Dilmat Biat Orohu, which changed it from, right? What does it say? U'mimai dahayu b'hashemesh, biat hashemesh. So here it changes it. Dilma, maybe you want to say biat orohu.
How does that make sense to say Biat Shimsho?
Because biat shim, because what's the learning over here? The Rashba is going to learn what biat shimsho is talking about. The fact that tzeta kavim is a long time, which means it's not enough to have the beginning of sunset. You have to have the end of sunset, which is tzeta kavim. We have to look at the Rashba on the inside if you want more details. You have to look at the Rashba on the inside. I'll show it to you. Okay.
Rashba was after Rashi, right?
Rashba was after Rashi. Yes.
Rashba was 15th century, no?
No, it's a Rishon. No. 1200, I think. 1250.
So Rashi did not have the girsa of.
Rashi did not have the Girsa. Again, there were different Girsot. How was the Gemara written? By hand. All the Gemaras that Rashi had, and the Rambam had, and the Rashba had, they were all handwritten. And a person the person who's writing it was copied. Yes, copied. So the person, when he was copying it, obviously you have to be somewhat of a Tamid Chacham in order to copy it. And he said, wait a minute, that's not the way I learned it. My Rebbe told me it's Oro. I'm going to fix this over here. It must be a mistake for the Sofrim. But what he was doing, he was changing the Girsa. But Baruch Hashem, because of Genizah, because what do we do with the Gemara that becomes worn? We put it in Genizah. So now when they dig up the Genizah and they open up, they find variant texts of the Gemara. Same thing with the Rambam. The Rambam that you bought, there's one Rambam that's in one book. They went through 10,000 changes of Girsa based on the Rambam.
It's amazing that Torah, they did not do that.
What's that?
It's amazing that Torah, they were not saying, oh, my rabbi learned differently, let's fix that in the actual
You mean in the
scroll.
Torah? No, because Moshe Rabbeinu wrote 13 scrolls before he died. There was one scroll that was kept in the Bet HaMikdash, and that's what they used as the original
But
scroll.
even after all the pogroms and after all
So
the
what does that teach you?
destruction,
But why is that? Because if you have a Gemara, let's say I pick up a Gemara here, and my Rebbe told me it says Biat Shimsho, and this Gemara says Biat Oro. What do? I take my pen, I cross it out, and I put Shimsho. In Sefer Torah, what do? You erase it, you change it. Or you have to put it in Genizah if it's Pasul. You take a Sefer Torah for a broken letter and you put it in you don't read from it anymore. And Sefer Torah was read publicly every single 3 times a week, which means someone would see it. We had a recent situation in the shul over here that one of the Sifrei Torah had a yud, had a vav that was short. Now this Sefer Torah had been around the shul for. Now, I'm not going to assume anybody had read that parasha before. It might just be that no one had read that parasha before and noticed that this vav was short.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's pasul though.
It was. They had to fix it. So what I did is, the halakha, what do you do in that situation?
Take another
You
one.
call a kid. Not too young, not too old.
Yeah.
Can't be bar mitzvah, and it can't be too kid. It has to be a kid that's 7, 8, 9
knows
years
the
old.
words, knows the words.
That knows enough to identify the letters, but doesn't know the ramifications, what would happen if you apostle the Sefer Torah.
Right.
And he said it was a yud.
And I said, please come and tell me. I took the pointer. I said, what is this letter? I said, do you know the alphabet? He was an Israeli kid. He said, sure, I know the alphabet. Tell me what this letter is. Yud. So when I went to Rabbi Eliyahu, I said to him, Rabbi Eliyahu, in Sefer Torah over there, I found that there's a vav that's a yud. He said, okay, we'll get a kid to. I said, I already did that. He's like, oh, we'll have to fix it. Nah, that's easy to fix. You just make the vav a little longer. But look at what with one letter off, you put the Sefer Torah in, and that's why the Torah was preserved. Okay, so finishing on the Girsa, maybe we'll do the Rashba inside next time fully, because I want to say we'll try to keep to the time. We have to say Bekat Hamazon. Amara Barabar Shila Imken Lema Kravei Taher. So what does the Rabbi Shila say? If so, if you're talking about the Taher is talking about the Gavra, it's talking about the person, it shouldn't say Vitaher, it should say Veyitaher, and he will be purified. My Vitaher, what does it mean Vitaher? Tahar Yoma, which was basically the passing of the day. Kidamre Inashe, which means in common language in Bavel, in Babylonia, what would people say? I'arav Shimsha, the sun set, the idaki yoma, and the day has passed. The word idaki in Aramaic basically means tahor in Hebrew. But this expression, which was used by people was idaki yoma, which means we see that the taher yom is referring to Set Kochavim. We close it. Baruch Adonai L'olam, amen v'amen.